Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Dr. Paul, with another mail call. I have over 40 years experience collecting comics, and this channel is where I share my experience and my passion for comic book collecting, investing, and conservation with you all. Today's mail call is an early Silver Age Marvel comic. Oh, looks like this is going to go pretty quickly. I'll just make sure this doesn't have any identifying information on it. This is an issue, like I said, a very early Silver Age Marvel comic. And it's an issue of Tales to Astonish. I'm not really sure why it's sticking to this. Oh, we have some tape here. Tales to Astonish is the title that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby used to introduce us to Hank Pym. And Hank Pym was the headliner of this title for a long time, from issue number 35 in 1962 until issue number 69 in 1965. First as Ant-Man and then as Giant Man. But this is not just a run-of-the-mill issue of Tales to Astonish. Today, we're opening I'm just gonna get the rest of this tape off so I don't inadvertently stick it to anything. Today we're opening a Pence variant. Look at that. Let me take it out of this bag, and while I'm fumbling with it, why don't you take the chance to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're gonna take a closer look at this really cool, very early Marvel in Pence edition. Wow. I absolutely love this book. All right, what is it? And why do we care? This is Tales to Astonish number 43 from May of 1963. It's an anthology book with the lead Ant-Man story plotted by Stan Lee, scripted by his brother Larry Lieber, and drawn by Don Heck. With a great cover by Jack King Kirby. It's the 10th appearance of Ant-Man and his last solo adventure before the introduction of the Wasp in issue number 44. This is very early Marvel Age, before the introduction of the Avengers or the X-Men, before Daredevil or Doctor Strange. It's also the last issue in which Ant-Man is based in Central City. Not Barry Allen's Central City, but the Central City that Stan Lee used initially for the Marvel Universe. That's how early this issue is. Stan had not yet set all of his superheroes in New York, which was one of the hallmarks of his more realistic writing style, in contrast to DC's heroes who had ventured in Gotham, Metropolis, Central City, League City, Midway City, Star City, Gateway City, etc. There are so many fictional cities in the DC universe, I just made one of those up, but you didn't even notice it. A little aside here, pertinent to the channel. Enough people have inquired that I've decided to address this on video. Liberty Hill Comics is named for the real-life city in Texas, outside of Austin. It is not named for the fictional city that is the hometown of the third incarnation of the Tattooed Man, the Green Lantern rogue who is such an outstanding antagonist that he has somehow gone through 3 iterations now. More on that later, but let's get back to early 60s Marvel Comics. The Fantastic Four were originally set in Central City, California, but relocated to New York City in issue number 3 of their magazine. Ant-Man was apparently operating out of Central City for slightly longer, but his tales were also eventually set in New York City. Although they didn't make a big announcement of his move, By issue number 47, it's clear he and the Wasp are operating out of New York City when confronting Trago, about a year after the FF relocated to the Big Apple. Ant-Man's Rogues Gallery basically consisted of communist dictators and Egghead at the time this issue came out. In this issue, we get a great Stan Lee, Larry Lieber story about ageism. It's the first appearance of over 65 scientist Elias Weems, alias the Time Master, who, disgruntled after being let go for being too old from his job as a scientist, invents an aging ray to exact revenge on society by putting them all into dotage. He's not really evil, just acting out after being treated unfairly by society, and upon accidentally aging his grandson, repents, and we all learn a valuable lesson about how unfair ageism is. Incredibly, we have to wait nearly 60 years for the second appearance of the Time Master in Ant-Man Volume 3, Issue 1, published in 2022. Apparently, Elias is using his time gun to keep himself spry, as he would obviously be at least 124 years old by then. Spoiler, he's still not really evil. This time, he's mind-controlled by Trago. I have a near-complete run of Tales to Astonish, and I'm only missing 2 issues now that I've acquired a copy of number 43. I've been hunting a nice copy of this book for a very long time, and decided to make an offer on this Pence copy because now that I'm closing in on completing the run, I'm looking to curate my collection with high-grade and unique copies of each of the remaining issues. These early Marvel comics have UK price variants, also known by some as Pence editions. They were printed in the initial first print run, but in much lower quantity than the US edition, and are therefore quite rare today. When they do turn up, they're often in low grade, so I was happy to acquire this issue as the condition is quite nice for a UK price variant from the era. Incidentally, there is also an error printing that has no month and no price either. I don't have a sense for the relative rarity of each, but suffice to say, it took me years to find this copy, and I've never seen a no price error offered for sale. This one, we can actually see through this ink, does have the 9D to indicate 9 pence or 9 denarius is what the D stands for. And you can see that it was later an ink blot was put over it, and in a second-hand store probably it was repriced with this stamp. Now CGC tends to treat these not as major blemishes and won't really count off much for these marks. We do see a little bit of brittle paper along the top where there's been some chipping. I would not actually call that marble chipping because I don't think it's due to the cutting, though some may call it that. We have a little chip out here, but the paper quality is quite nice. The book overall is a little bit soiled, but not bad at all. Here we see ink smudge, probably because this was stacked with other books that were stamped similar to these. But otherwise, it's a beautiful book. Paper quality's high. The centerfold is quite nice. Staples are a bit offset, but you can see they're nice and bright. This is really, for its age, a high-grade copy of this book. As I mentioned, this is a very early Marvel book, although it's not considered a key issue. Between the age of the book and lack of overall demand, there are only 203 universal copies of Tales to Astonish number 43 in the CGC census, with a median grade of 6.5. I estimated the grade on this book based on the seller's pictures to be about a 6.0 to a 7.0. Go Collect calculates the fair market value of a slabbed 6.5 to be about $200, although there are very few sales and only a few available slab copies, all of which are listed for considerably more than $200. My purchase was an accepted offer on eBay for £60 sterling plus shipping and taxes out of Great Britain. The total was 75 pounds sterling, approximately $95 with the strong dollar we are currently enjoying. There are 0 UK price variants in the CGC census for this issue. I think with a clean and press, I could turn a tidy profit submitting this to CGC. Being the only UK price variant in the census and likely receiving a high grade, I think a discerning collector would pay a premium for this copy. Considering the fair market value of the much more common 12-cent version of this book in mid to high grade, I think I did very well with this purchase, and I'm happy to curate my collection toward rare variants and high grade copies of the few remaining issues I need to complete my full run of Tales to Astonish. After a historically lousy year for all assets in 2022, where stocks, bonds, crypto, and most collectibles were all down double digits to over 50%, 2023 looks like it could be a year in which traditional assets move mostly sideways as the FOMC continues to fight inflation and many expect downward revisions to earnings for most of the stocks in the S&P 500. This makes alternative assets like comic books look more attractive than they would otherwise be in a year in which we might reasonably expect average returns on the S&P. In this instance, we're only talking about $100, but I think the book was very well bought, and if I wanted to clean press, submit to CGC, and list this book for sale, I think I'd likely get returns on this investment in excess of what we can expect from traditional asset classes this year. Well, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing and market report video on this super cool Tales to Astonish number 43 UK price variant, one of the very last issues of Tales to Astonish I need to complete my collection. Anyone else chasing this run? Let me know about it in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Until next time, happy hunting and take care of one another.